Hi, I'm Carla. Today I'll read from my book, Ancestral River, A Spiritual Journey for the Living and the Dead. We're on chapter 18, Blame. Hoping to experience what life would be like if my original divine blueprint was restored, I listened to new ideas and meditations for personal growth and wrote down any of the words or phrases used that were different from words I had already cleared myself for. I focused my attention, intention, and breath on releasing the stuck energy of old thought patterns and misconceptions that were associated with those words. After a day of much personal clearing, I woke at 3:30 a.m. as Gabriel poured wisdom and knowledge into my crown chakra. I had no idea what wisdom I had been given, but a few days later in meditation, energy stirred within me. "What's happening?" I asked. Universal Spirit said, "The information from the other night is being activated." I rested my hands on my legs, palms up. "I receive all," I said. My ancestors from the oneness gathered around. One grandfather placed his hand on my shoulders. I said, "Thank you, all of you." Dad hugged me. "Love my family." "I do," I said. A few days later, I received a biofield session. The practitioner said, "I'm stuck in energy from when you were 52. I said, "I was asked to resign from a difficult job. It was a painful time for me. It's never come up during a tuning before. I must have processed it enough that it's ready to clear." The following day, I was emotional and old thought patterns triggered easily. I tuned myself to help balance and harmonize. As I finished a friend's biofield session, she said, "I've been learning about the importance of family lines. It's made me take more time to be with my parents and learn about what interests them. My dad has a big garden, so I've started asking about it and listening to him talk. It's created more of a bond between us. I feel more connection." I said, "My dad is in the oneness. Twice in the past few months, he's come to me and said, 'Love my family.' Each time I said, 'I do love them.' But part of my vibration must be saying that I don't." I hesitated to share more. 9 years ago, I had a big disagreement with my family. A few months later, Dad died, and some of them blamed me for his death. I had a stressful job, and by the first anniversary of his death, my mind wasn't working right. My friend said, "That's a lot of negative energy to hold on. Have you forgiven them?" I said, "Yes." But my eyes blurred with tears. All at once, I felt so tired. She asked, "Have you really? It takes a lot to fully forgive something like that. Do you blame yourself?" I wiped my eyes again. The next morning, knowing my body would tell me if I had blocks in my energy flow for blame, shame, and forgiveness, I tested my muscle strength while naming each emotion out loud. My muscles had weakness for all three. I used yoga exercise with positive affirmations to help release the blocks. In a vision during meditation, I stood in the oneness. My ancestors gathered in front of me. We exchanged wisdom. I received and gave, then received and asked for more. How can I clear myself for this blame and forgiveness? Dad stepped forward from the ancestors and took me in a vision within the first vision. "Do you remember summer evenings as you were growing up? When the temperatures cooled, our family often walked down the driveway, stepped into a plowed field, and looked for seashells or arrowheads. Many times we found parts of seashells, sometimes half shells, but once in a great while we found an arrowhead and considered it a real prize." As he spoke, I caught the sweet scent of flowers in bloom. Warm sand squeezed between my bare toes as we walked down the road. The evening sun, still hot enough to make sweat beads on my forehead. I felt the safety of being with my family, the hardness of dirt clods against my feet as I walked in the field, and the joy of finding a full arrowhead one time. I remember, I told him. And he said, as you look inside yourself, the shells are emotions you will release as you find them. And in time, you will find an arrowhead, your deepest pain ready to be cleared, and you will rejoice. Blinded by tears, I tried to imagine, as real as life, hugging my dad. Dad said, I love you. Memories of being with him, just the two of us, filled my heart. I said, I love you too. Dad said, those times were special to me too. I asked, you remember those times, even now, in the oneness? Of course, he said. Later that week, I tuned myself to help forgive myself and others. The pendulum showed I needed to work at my third eye. Why is it telling me to work here? The third eye is about worry and regret, not forgiveness. As I cleared those old patterns, the forks found the difficult years of Dad's death and losing my job. Did all the worry and regret from those experiences need to be cleared before I could forgive? My husband was building a metal garden fence for me. I picked up a small section. He said, you're always so competitive, trying to keep one step ahead of me. He had commented on my competitiveness at other times, and I had scoffed. But today I accepted it with gratitude. I'm not trying to outdo you. I just like to help. But I think it's from my old story of wanting approval and trying to prove that I'm good enough. Dad had been a bricklayer. He expected me to think ahead and have cement and bricks ready when I helped him. I tried hard, wanting his approval and to show that I was good enough. Even when I had my own family and he helped me with home improvements, I had always tried to do my best to please him. I had wanted Mom's approval too, and often I still did, as if my own opinion didn't matter. Had I held on to the blame surrounding Dad's death because I felt my own approval was not enough? As I received a biofield session to help clear myself from blaming others and blaming myself, the pendulum indicated a need to clear energy at my heart chakra. The practitioner activated her tuning forks. There's a lot of stuck energy right here at gestation. It's my birth story, I said. I feared rejection and separation, wanted approval, and blamed myself. She said, now I'm stuck in your early teens. I responded, anorexia is a slow suicide. I felt sad, lonely, and not good enough most of the time. She said, you're 18. I said, anorexia was worse then. She continued her work. Now you're 23, she said. I said, I was in an abusive marriage. Now you're 28. Did your husband have addictions? Yes, I said. He blamed me for everything, and I believed him. In this pocket, you're 31. My second marriage failed. I blamed myself for ruining my life and my children's future. She said, now you're 43. My boys were having difficult junior high years. I wasn't able to take away the pain my mistakes had caused them. The practitioner was only a few inches away from my body. She said, the energy is heavy. It's from 8 or 9 years ago. I said, when I was growing up, my father wanted to attend the church he grew up in, but Mom wanted to raise her children in a local church. Some of my dad's older brothers pressured him, causing animosity between families. My siblings and I felt the animosity frequently, and we sided with Mom. Not wanting to risk losing his wife and children, Dad stayed in the local church. I gave into the memory I had tried to avoid for 9 years. Dad had dementia. Getting older brought back his desire to attend his family's church, but he didn't drive more than a few miles from home anymore. The brothers who had pressured Dad had died, and my siblings and I had our own families. As an administrator of an adult care home, protecting the rights of the elderly every day, I wanted Dad to be able to follow his heart's desire if he wanted to. When I offered to drive him to church, he said, "I think I can do it now if at least one of my children accepts me." When he came to visit me at my office a few days later, his blue eyes were shining so bright. I had only seen them dulled for a long time. But after 50 years of animosity, my family was angry. When he died a few months later, some of them blamed me. Grief added to my stressful job. A year later, I hated myself for getting fired. As the pocket of energy cleared, my friend said, "I think you were very strong to help your father. You acted in love. There is no blame." Later, I said to my husband, "Dad knew his mind wasn't working right, yet he drove himself to church that night during a snowstorm. Dementia had limited his quality of life. He probably felt death was a blessing." After a year of grief, blame, and job stress, my mind wasn't working right. I watched myself making poor decisions but was unable to stop. Being fired was painful, but leaving the job was a relief. Maybe at times when our minds can't take care of us, our spirits take charge. Maybe when situations seem to bring bad things into our lives, it's really our spirits working in our favor. If so, at those times, there would be no offense, so there would be no blame. He said, "If we're being blamed by others, it's not helpful to think we're not blamed. And if we only think we're being blamed but aren't, that's not helpful either. How can we know where reality stops and only our perception remains?" I said, "If our minds always received everything as being for our highest good, there would never be an offense or blame, real or perceived." 2 weeks later, my biofield practitioner said, "I think we should do another session to clear for blame. Have you asked your dad if he blamed you for his death?" "Well, no. Why would he blame me? I was helping him." But after the session, I called through the universe, "Dad, I really want to talk to you. Please come." His attention was present. I asked him, "Did you blame me for your death?" His vibration was only love, but I swallowed hard. Part of me still blamed me.